Bruce Robert Banner is probably one of the most well known Marvel characters of all time, and he's looking a little different in Marvel Rivals. Besides, what's going on with that spiffy belt and the double Hulk out? Let's talk about it. Hello, I am the Riddler, wrong universe, I know, and this is Marvel Rivals Season 1 character profile for Bruce Banner, aka the Incredible Hulk. So, given the popularity of the character, there are quite a few takes on the Incredible Hulk at this point. He's been green, he's been red, he's been human sized, he's been Galactus sized, he's shouted planets out of existence, he's struggled to fight off rabid dogs. Needless to say, there's a lot of lore to go through when it comes to the Hulk. Marvel Rivals is no different, but it does seem to draw from very recent stories. In Marvel Rivals, we see Bruce Banner as we usually do. He's a tortured soul who does his best to control his grand curse that he has chosen to use as a gift. This, however, is a Bruce Banner that is very much not in direct control of the Hulk. He can make himself Hulk out on command, but once he does, he kind of has no control, at least to himself. Based on some of the things that he says in his lore entry, I think it's reasonable to assume that Bruce does have more control over the Hulk than he thinks he does. It's just that he doesn't feel in control of the Hulk when he's the Hulk. He mentions that this version of the Hulk has leveled cities without his knowledge and has even actively sequestered himself in a lab out in the desert far from anything that he might even accidentally break. Bruce has also built his newest invention, which he simply calls the Gamma Belt, and the Gamma Belt is a heavily insulated belt designed to channel energy into the wearer without really letting it escape. The reason this works is also a big part of why the Hulk seems to have near limitless energy and power in most depictions of the character. When Bruce Banner turns into the big green meanie, he is constantly shedding gamma radiation, which I'm sure everyone knows is what powers the Hulk in the first place. So by creating this gamma belt, which is meant to feed energy caught by the insulation back into the wearer, Banner is essentially creating a feedback loop of energy, a perpetual energy machine in a lot of ways, constantly catching the energy that the Hulk outputs to then keep the Hulk's energy stable. This should, in essence, make the Hulk less of a rage monster and more of a grumpy gamma-powered guy. In the test of the Gamma Belt, Bruce Banner is even trying to force himself into having more control over the Hulk form. Now, this is not a new idea whatsoever, right? We've seen Professor Hulk many times before, but this comes with a caveat. Usually, Professor Hulk has a side effect of making the Hulk weaker for reasons that we'll talk about in a bit. This Gamma Belt, however, should theoretically make Hulk stronger because it is feeding him more gamma energy. Bruce is tentative as to what that means for him or even what that means for the Hulk, and thusly Banner hasn't told anyone of his hero friends about this little experiment of his. He fires it up and becomes the Hulk, who reluctantly goes along with puny Banner's experiment. When he does, he sees that his clap that can normally shatter all the windows in a city block now fires off a veritable rocket of gamma energy. Being unready for this, the force of the blast knocks even the Hulk off of his feet, which is not an easy thing to accomplish. It even causes a cave-in from the desert around him that is only narrowly avoided thanks to the Gamma Belt projecting a barrier around him of pure gamma energy. Hulk continues to test his new limitless limits, and that is when Hulk realizes the effects of this feedback loop. He realizes that this is not only a stronger Hulk, but a more pure Hulk. He calls himself the real Hulk. So what does he mean by this? It's not entirely made clear, and I think that is on purpose, considering there are more lore entries attached to the Jade Giant that we will be getting hopefully in future releases. We got the T'Challa Chapter 2 way sooner than I would have thought we would, so who knows when we will get the next ones. But like I mentioned earlier, the Hulk is constantly shedding gamma energy from the moment that he transforms from Banner into the Beast. So the Hulk is never at his maximum strength. The Hulk is, by nature of what the transformation is, a temporary state. But what happens when that temporary state is given permanence? The hulking is a reaction. When Banner gets too angry, the gamma that is sort of laced throughout his DNA concentrates until there's so much of it that he transforms into the Incredible Hulk. But as soon as he becomes the Incredible Hulk, he is shedding off those waves of radiation. The metaphor is very much intentional in that when Banner loses it and gets way too angry or scared or in danger of his situation, he goes into this state of anger where he basically blacks out and wrecks everything around him until he, quote unquote, calms down. Now, of course, Banner has a much more comic booky version of a freak out than you or I would have, but ostensibly once the Hulk calms down or is calmed down, whatever gamma radiation has been built up is released and he returns to being Bruce Banner. So the Hulk is never at maximum strength. But what happens if the technical scientific effect of him being angry all the time never goes away? Because even when he returns to being Banner, it's not like the Hulk ceases to exist. The Hulk is always within Bruce Banner. There's a couple of stories where it's revealed that the Hulk would have existed within Bruce Banner even without the gamma radiation. It's just that it wouldn't have a physical presence without that mutation. So if the Hulk never runs out of energy and he's always acting at maximum strength, you get the Marvel Rivals character that we see. Hulk begins to goad and chide at the measly voice inside his head. Banner begs him to chill out, and Hulk, of course, is not on board with this. But as he begins to wreck the lab of Bruce Banner, Hulk accidentally damages the electronics of the Gamma Belt, which then swiftly transforms him back into the humble Bruce Banner. In fact, it is so quick that Bruce does not even realize that it happens until it happens, and he's back in control of his body. So what is happening here exactly? Like I said earlier, it's hard to know for 100% certain what Marvel Rivals is going to do with their rendition of the character, but I do think we can get kind of an idea by taking a quick trip to the comic books and the recent comic books to perhaps get an answer. Recently, in the comic books, Bruce Banner stole some AIM technology to fracture his psyche into distinct parts. Great idea, Bruce. That could never go wrong. And because his gamma transformations are tied directly to his id and to his psyche, this allows him to be Bruce Banner while physically piloting the body of the Hulk like a giant spaceship that goes through space and he's looking for a place to be alone. But the Hulk is also literally a spaceship, but there are a lot of scenes of Bruce Banner it's weird. It's very, very weird, but it's so good. It's a great Hulk story. And one of the biggest things that came out of that Hulk story is that it asked the question of what happens when the Hulk hulks out. See, the Hulk is a trauma response for Bruce Banner. His id and his dark personality is his deepest, purest rage that he constantly suppresses, both because of his childhood and because of his mild-mannered nature. Bruce Banner is a very quiet, passive, and meek person, and all of that rage that all of us carry, he shoves into the back of his mind where it coalesces into this being that we call the Incredible Hulk. That's why he's a rage monster, because Bruce suppresses his rage. If you look at the other Incredible Hulks that have existed, Amadeus Cho, and the ilk, they are not necessarily tied to rage because that's Bruce Banner's thing. He's the guy with anger management problems. But as the comic books have firmly established, Hulk is also its own person. The Hulk has thoughts, he has feelings, he has ideas. He is not the exact same being as Banner. In fact, even in Marvel Rivals, he refers to Bruce Banner as being a tiny human that lives within him. To the Hulk, Bruce Banner is a totally different person, and to Bruce Banner, the same can be assumed. They consider themselves to be completely different people that happen to share the same physical form at times. So if the Hulk was created by Bruce Banner's trauma and suppressed rage, what happens if Hulk is around long enough to experience his own trauma and his own uncontrollable rage that he suppresses in order to get things done? What happens when the Hulk hulks out? In the comic books, there are a couple of different answers to this. There's even a reference to the one below all, the one true dark god of the Marvel Universe, being a Hulk out of the one above all, which is comic booky and weird, and I don't have time to explain it right now. And honestly, I'm not even educated enough to explain it right now because it's a whole thing. But when the Hulk hulks out, in Marvel Rivals at least, we get Monster Hulk. We get a rage-born monster that is nigh unkillable and capable of taking down basically anyone. If there was ever someone who had a credible argument for not being enhanced by Chronovium, I think it's the Hulk. I think instead of Chronovium enhancing him, it's mostly gamma energy that is making him into this unstoppable battery of anger and rage. And that is primarily where the Monster Hulk comes from. Now, is any of this correct? Who knows? This is primarily conjecture, given the fact that Marvel Rivals is canon within the Marvel Universe. It is a Marvel Studios game, and these events are actually happening. It makes the most sense to me that the devs would draw from what is the most popular Incredible Hulk story at the moment to create their iteration that they're then putting their own spin on. Of course, it remains to be seen what the new take on Hulk will come to be as we get to more and more chapters. But those are all things for the future, and that is all I have for you today because it's basically all we know right now. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like the video, like the video. Be sure to drop us a subscribe as we continue our climb towards 500 subscribers. And I made this video because someone in the comments of my last video said they wanted to see the Hulk character profile. And I'm like, dude, I got you. So if you got some characters that you specifically want to see me cover, drop a comment down below. And if I haven't gotten to it already, I'll get to it very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. And until the next time I see you, drink some water, wash your hands, tell someone you love that you love them, and be good people.